Hello everyone. Just wanted to share with you today some thoughts around the world around us and particularly of good practice in world around us from a school's perspective and from individual teachers' perspective. I know from last week and from our quiz that the area of world around us, as you are aware, combines geography, history and science, as well as providing opportunities to support the development of thinking skills, personal capabilities and personal development and mutual understanding aspects of the curriculum as well. It is accepted by educationists that learning should be real and relevant for primary school children. And that involves connecting their educational content that we're teaching to their daily lives, their interests, and their experiences. So, in the examples that I'm going to show you, you'll see relatable scenarios that refer to the children's everyday lives within their own communities. You'll see project-based learning. You'll have the opportunity to see experiential learning, some integrated hands-on activities, and interactive learning as well. So you get the opportunity to view all those things as we move through this project. But initially, it's important to understand where does world around us come from, how has it evolved, and what are the legal requirements on us to teach it. So within the Northern Ireland curriculum, there are 6 areas of learning, of which world around us is one. And within this document, we are given guidance, and it is guidance as to how to teach that whole area of the world around us. The world around us then is presented as 4 interrelated strands that connect the learning across geography, history, science and technology. And then there are also the opportunities for the cross-curricular infusion of communication, using maths, using ICT, and developing thinking skills and personal capabilities. And teachers are encouraged to involve children in the choice of topics that interest them, and where possible, for learning to be connected to current events in the world around them. And that's what I want to show you now whenever we go on to look at our school's examples of topics related to world around us. It is also important to be aware that SIA have produced a number of thematic units for use at Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. And these units, they help the children to explore the world around them through the aspects of geography, history, science and technology. And they're all very clearly laid out. However, it is important that teachers understand that they must also develop their own thematic units and planners to include the pupil voice and things that the children show interest in their locality or community. So in the example of our school, we realised that world around us needed to be focused upon a topic-based approach, that there was a breadth of strand coverage, in other words, a breadth of geography, history and science within each topic, that there was progression from primary 1 to primary 7 in all the key concepts and all the key skills of each of those 3 areas. But there was also an opportunity then to infuse the development of thinking skills and personal capabilities, which were very important. And also there was a great opportunity to promote cross-curricular learning, which you'll see later on in some of the clips and some of the videos later on. This is our whole school world around us view of topics throughout a year for each individual class. And it's useful for you to know that the teacher will have this, because as you go into your schools later on, you'll be asked what topics you're intending to teach. And it's useful for you to have this from the teacher at the start so that you can see where their plans are and where they intend to be in January, February, March, whenever you will be out on your placement, so that you can fit in with their plans or potentially negotiate a different topic based on something else that you've done maybe within the college before that. But it is useful to know that the teacher will have this. And then hopefully your teacher will be able to provide you with a copy of their half-termly plan or a connected learning sheet, which will look a little bit like what you see on the screen now. And you can see on the left-hand side, this is just the one that we used in our school, and you have the world around us on the left-hand side there. So you can see your geography, your history, and your science, and your technology. And then you can see they're identified by the strands at the end of each comment there. And then you can see that it is also cross-curricular by in nature. You can see the communication, you can see the numeracy using mathematics, using ICT all on the right-hand side. And then you've got your other areas of the curriculum, PDMU, thinking skills, person capabilities, all outlined within that document as well. So if your teacher has that for you, that's even better, and that'll give you an even better understanding of what you are to do within that whole curriculum area. For us, making learning real and relevant meant that we wanted to have active learning experiences that were connected to projects which were locally based and which the children would have a greater interest in. So, for example, we looked at the apple industry, we looked at dairy farming, which were both industries that were close by. We also took the opportunity to look at the North-South interconnector, which was going to have a major environmental impact on the area around which we live. Another area that we looked at was the Armagh railway disaster, as it was coming up to a centenary year on that. And then finally, an area that we looked at in this time was the area around Navan Fort, or Ahon Maha, which is a very famous Celtic fort based in the centre of Armagh. Basically, the North-South interconnector was a proposal to build electricity pylons along the Armagh-Tyrone border. And unfortunately, these pylons came very close to the proximity of many of our children's houses. So this was an ideal topic for the children to understand and to discover, and ideal for world around us. You can see from the teacher's planner where she has identified the world around us, and she's identified other curricular areas that she could link into very clearly. You can see very clearly from this teacher's connected learning sheet in relation to the pylons that she's identified very clearly along the left-hand side what her curriculum links will be in relation to the world around us. So, for example, in geography, it's mostly in relation to mapping and mapping skills, location of the pylons, how they impact upon local families, local farmers and local businesses. And then in terms of history, it's the history of where electricity has come from and the impact that it has on our society today. In science and technology, then, it's looking at renewable energy sources versus non-renewable energy sources, the dangers of electricity within inside our homes, investigating insulators and conductors, and doing experiments with switches and circuits of electrically, and participating in model making as well. So there's lots of activity there going on within the area of world around us, but also in other curricular areas as well, particularly in terms of PDMU, where you can see the opportunity to examine this issue from both sides of the argument, from the argument of needing more electricity, but at the same time in terms of conservation of the area that we live in. And then there was also the opportunity for children, particularly through the area of communication and literacy, to explore their letter writing skills in terms of writing to politicians, writing to planners, writing letters of objection because of their concerns about the environmental impact and the impact to their health as well. And also within the area of numeracy, there was opportunities for calculation based on energy usage in the school and how that could be cut back. And also within ICT, they were using PowerPoint presentations to make presentations for both sides of the argument in terms of the impact that this was going to have on our community. We also wanted to ensure that there was an investigative approach taken within science, within the area of world around us in our school. So we just felt that it was important because investigative work provides that opportunity to foster that sense of curiosity and exploration in young minds, and also provides the opportunity to promote critical thinking and problem solving skills as you move through the primary school. And then towards the latter end of the primary school, as you can see from some of the examples that are coming up before you now, you're building communication skills where children are able to utilise their graphs, their photographs, their text to portray an investigation at a higher level. In our primary school then, with the integration of mobile technologies, it was fundamental to our vision for the world around us subject area, and we were actually one of the first schools in Northern Ireland to pilot the use of the iPad within the classroom. We contributed to a survey or research at that time, which is called the Future Classrooms Handbook. We documented and painted a picture of what a classroom might look like with mobile technologies at the heart of its learning. We had initially set about introducing iPads into our teaching and learning over 10 years ago, but there were many aspects to the technology that fitted what our vision for the world around us was like. We liked that the iPads had fast boot times compared to traditional laptops and desktops, and they also had a huge degree of portability, which meant that we could move the iPads around the classroom or indeed around the site of the school or to the external to the building itself. Our pupils then also had access to the built-in cameras and microphones, and also the wealth of resources of the powerful apps and the internet resources that exist on the iPad, which obviously are continuing to develop. And they very much promote and foster the creativity and the development of the thinking skills and the personal capabilities, which is so vital to what we try to promote within our school. I want to take you through what a typical World Around Us project might have looked like at that time, with the iPad at the heart of it. And I want to draw your attention to a Key Stage 2 World Around Us topic, which was based on the Great Famine in Ireland. This is a topic that we had delivered within the school for many years, but it lacked a degree of ICT within it, and it lacked that dynamic approach that the iPad offered in this topic. We worked with an external agency called the AMA Centre. That's a digital learning suite in Armagh, and they also have a sister organisation in Derry called the Nerve Centre. The basic premise was that we were going to create a movie based on the world around us on the subject area of the famine. And a significant amount of that time was spent in the early days planning how this might look, and the children set about firstly exploring the conventions of film language, looking at different camera shots, for example, and they used the iPad to explore different terminology and developed a storyboard. The pupils then come up with the idea that they would have 4 distinct groups in their class, looking at different areas. So we had a group looking at checking the crop, we had a group exploring eviction, one exploring the workhouse, and one exploring immigration. The hope through this was that at the culmination of the project, we could take these distinct little videos together to produce an overall showcase of their learning, which you can see a snippet of now.
Blight hits potato crop in Ireland.
Thousands face famine.
Eviction looms for Irish families.
Workhouses, schemes and emigration seem like the only option.
Hello and welcome to the St Joseph's PS News. It's Wednesday 12th of August 1846. I'm Dara Tohill.
And I'm Sinead Conisky. Blight has struck the potato crop in Ireland, leaving thousands of families hungry. Families have found their crop to be totally destroyed, which for many was their only source of food. They go live to the Doherty family as they check their crop.
Jimmy and Rosie were fast asleep.
Quickly, quickly, come and check the crops with me. The potatoes are ready.
Jimmy and Rosie dragged themselves out of their cosy beds. The children went to the table and waited for the breakfast, but Mother said, "We have no food until you go and check the crops with your father." They whined with hunger, but tried to hide in front of their parents.
I'm so hungry.
"We will have food as soon as you go dig up the crop." While they were walking down the old stony lane to dig the potatoes, Father shouted,
Hurry up, I think it's going to rain.
Jimmy is digging while Rosie waits to pick the potatoes.
Hurry up, Jimmy, we're getting soaked.
When they dug up the potatoes, they saw something very different.
Oh no, the potatoes are rotten.
Tears dripped from Rosie's eyes as she watched the green rotten potatoes turn into mush in her hand.
With the pressures of the famine, thousands of people have decided that emigration is the only means of escape. America, one of the more popular destinations, has attracted people with the most promise of a new start. It is, however, very expensive and means that many families have been split up. The ships also harbour diseases and have become known as coffin ships.
The other children then, having worked on the narration and the storyboarding, go on to present their stories on the workhouse, on eviction, and this particular story on emigration. So I just want to take you through very briefly a project that was done on the Armagh railway disaster. And here you see a KWL grid, and it's a simple minds up, and it's really finding out what the child already knows, then what they would like to know, and there are simple assessment for learning tools that we use at the start of each lesson to ascertain what a child already knows before we go at the end to what they've found out. In this image here, you see the geographical images of Armagh in the past and in the present. So you've got the historical and you've got also the geographical with the location and the children knowing these areas within Armagh as they go about their business every day. And then you can see a chronology here, a timeline, a simple timeline that the child has put together, and they've been able to put that together very clearly, linking the Armagh railway disaster in terms of major events throughout the last century and things that are important to them or were important to them. And then they've also been able to sequence, using sequencing techniques, to sequence the events of the day of the railway disaster. What actually happened, what were the key events, and when did they actually occur?
In this short book, I will be describing the horrible tragedy of the Armagh railway disaster that happened on the 12th of June 1889. Men, women and children all departed Armagh Methodist Church and marched up the road to the train station, having no idea of what was to occur.
Hello, my name is Emily McAvanna and I am doing a project on the Armagh railway disaster that happened on June 12, 1889. I am making an e-book about it and I hope you enjoy it and learn something interesting.
Emily then provided a narrative for the beginning of that journey on that fateful day, and then she also tied this into her geographical skills by using an OS map to locate the actual disaster's area and to pinpoint the exact location of where the accident occurred. Within science then, the class as a whole took part in a runaway carriage investigation, and it was to find out would the weight of the carriage have an impact on the speed at which it went and the distance at which it travelled. And they did this in class with their toy cars and different weights.
Off you go.
Emily was then able to display her findings using a graph to illustrate the findings of her results. And then also, as well as part of the process, she had to complete her evaluation of what had happened, why she thought it happened, and whether she thought her prediction had turned out right. They also, at this point, also took part in a Minecraft project with the AMA Centre in Armagh, so utilising an outside source technology centre based in Armagh, who came in and helped the children to work on a Minecraft project where they were able to build their own homes. And then laterally, they were able to go and build a mock-up of the actual Armagh Railway itself. So all in all, an absolutely fascinating project for the children. Something, as you can imagine, that they really, really enjoyed and they got a lot of pleasure out of. Then at the end of all of our projects, everyone evaluates. So we do a KWL grid, obviously at the start, and then we are doing that for each class the whole way throughout the school. And that's part of our being reflective as students and learners, and also being reflective as teachers as well. So, throughout each stage, each class got the opportunity, and as a whole class, got the opportunity to evaluate their work, to evaluate it together. Finally then, I just want to illustrate to you a further project that we carried out on raths within our local area. Raths, or Celtic hill forts, were very common throughout Ireland at this particular time, and in our area of Madden in County Armagh, there were two major raths, and they were known just to a handful of people within our community, and we felt it was important that the knowledge and understanding about these raths be preserved for future generations. So we decided that this was something that we could do a little bit of research on and find out something about. And this child in particular, she used her narrative writing skills and developed this project. And as you can see from the quality of the presentation using the Book Creator app, it's very professionally carried out, and it gives a bit of a background into the raths. In geographical skills then, you can see the use of the Ordnance Survey maps. You can see the development in terms of the town lands of Madden, and children being made aware of the local town lands, which hadn't been the case previously. So we also took the opportunity to look at Navan Fort, which is one of the great royal sites of Ireland, and also known as Ahan Maha. And during the early 80s, there was an application for further quarrying at the Navan site, and there was a great environmental uproar about this. And thankfully, the good sense prevailed, and we were able to preserve one of these great ancient monuments. And it's very close by to Armagh City and not that far from our school. We thought it was important that we would visit that, but also it gives us an opportunity to look at the potential for a discussion around environmental issues. Children also got the experience of visiting the site to view the tools and the utensils used by the Celts. Children also had the opportunity to use their ICT skills to produce posters about Cuchulainn, the famous Irish mythical hero. Science was integral into this project as well via investigations into a throwing challenge. The children had to suggest ways of making the test fair, of identifying the equipment needed, and then arranging how data should be recorded, which in this case was using graphs and photographs and the written form. As you can see from the nature of this project, mathematical skills obviously were in evidence as well through measurement, calculation, recording, analysing, were all very obvious as well. So I hope that you did enjoy looking at these projects, sort of getting an understanding of what world around us is and how in the very best practice we can use world around us so that children have a better understanding of their everyday lives and of how their learning can become real and relevant in the everyday world. Thank you so much for taking part, and I will talk to everyone next week.